worse than we thought. They made her emo!
Navia has to be by far my favorite Hoyo design so far, and design-wise alone, Evernight fits the perfect description. Why? Because umbrella. She's going to be a 5-star Remembrance Ice unit that will buff your allies' memosprites and of course buff herself and her own memosprite altogether. This sounds amazing and obviously her looks are amazing as well, but do all of these match her kit? Subscribe to my channel since we are closing in on 2,000 subs, and let's get to the Evernight guide. I'm sure Hycelens, Ceridra and the Fate collab are going to take a toll on your wallet and your jades, if not already. Not to mention that Evernight and Tarai are also arriving very soon. Thankfully though, Loot Bar is here to save you. They offer you much cheaper and affordable prices, up to 25%, just by using their link down below, which also is a big help to me as well. I'm sure you've heard of them before. They've worked with Maker on Z and Raiden Shogun, kind of the bigger YouTubers that have worked with Loot Bar, and I'm here to tell you they're doing good because the amount difference is quite big, like this. Big. You can basically save a bunch of money just by going to Loot Bar. We're gonna buy this big boy pack over here to show you an example, of course. Enter your UID and what server your account is in. Click the top up now after you are done. Wait up to 5 minutes after you see this screen, and boom. Money. The top-up bonus is also active on Loot Bar, and by using my link down below, you will save 10% off of your next purchase with my special coupon, alongside a bunch of other coupons that they offer when you first visit the store. I'm sure you're dying to find out what the kit does, but let's take a look at the traces first so we have a much clearer idea of what we need to be doing. Trace 1 increases the crit rate of both Evernight and the memosprite by 35%, and after you use the enhanced summon skill, 1 skill point will be recovered. This is mostly to keep you on track with your skill points because this is a very negative skill point user, so this will give you a bunch more comfiness in your teams because usually a skill point or 2 are going to be needed because you will always be skilling with Evernight. So you can almost always focus on crit damage body and obviously like crit damage stats instead of crit rate. For Trace 2, it gives her 70 energy and 1 Memoria stack. Memoria we will explain later when you start the battle. Additionally, every ally or Evernight ability that is used, 1 Memoria will be gained for Evernight, meaning summoners and memosprite users will have a field trip playing with Evernight. People like Topaz, people like Castoris will absolutely love Trace 3. And to end it off with Trace 3, when there is 1, 2, 3, 4 or more Remembrance characters in your team, Evernight skill will additionally increase all of these summons crit damage by 5% for one of them, 15% for 2, 50% for 3, and 65% for all 4 of the characters being Remembrance. Yes, she does become a little bit too niche because her skill and her traces are very much tailored to memosprites and not anything else, so you can kind of say she is a more niche character in certain teams. And of course, this might also indicate that more memosprite users will come in the future, so we can have a very nice look at that, because currently we do not have many, and I'm very confident we will see more of the Remembrance path. Okay, and now we get into the important stuff, and obviously the really big stuff, because this is a Remembrance unit. Her kit is absolutely insane in the text, so what I will be doing is called Caveman. Me explain, you understand, let's go. For the skill, she consumes some of her max HP, and she will summon Evey, while also increasing the crit damage for all the memosprites currently on the field for 2 turns. This has a Ron-Mei Tribi mechanic duration, meaning it ticks down every turn Evernight takes. Additionally, if the summon is already on the field, it will restore 50% of its max HP. And finally, once you use the skill, 2 Memoria stacks will be obtained, and if she is in the ult form, the Darkest Riddle form, she will gain an additional 12, so you will gain 14 for the enhanced and 2 for the base state. The ultimate summons the memosprite just in case you didn't have it, and it also deals some damage. The main part here though is that Evernight goes rogue. She enters the Darkest Riddle riddle state, during which all enemies take increased damage, and Evey plus Evernight will gain a damage bonus increase, and while on top of all of this entire kit, they will be completely crowd control immune. She will also obtain 2 special charges called Darkest Riddle, and Evey can consume one of them when she uses the Enhanced Summon skill. Finally, for this giant ultimate, once Evernight takes a turn in the ult form without any Darkest Riddle states, Evernight will just leave the state and will return back to her base form, meaning you have 2 turns and a little more to make the most out of Evernight. The technique is usually the boring one, and it is the case here as well. It reuses the skill of her base form, so we're gonna pass that, and we're gonna go to the talent. It will always summon Evey when you start the battle, and every time either of them lose HP, their crit damage will increase for 2 turns, and they will gain 2 Memoria stacks, with obviously a cap to this, triggering once every target per attack. Now for the game changer part, once you reach 16 and above on Memoria, you will remove all crowd control from Evernight, and if Evey is on the field while the Memoria is 16 and above, it will instantly take action, making the Enhanced Summon skill available. This is why the talent is important. It also has the memosprite stats. It just has 160 speed, and it has whatever Evernight's HP is, so nothing to mention. And one last thing for the Enhanced Summon skill, it has a base form and an ult form. So if she is in her base form, this will do less damage. If it is in the ult form, this will do much more damage. The memosprite abilities are killing me, so we will make them a little easier to read. The basic skill the memosprite has, it picks a target whether on its own or whoever Evernight attacked last, and will deal some damage to them. But here's the trick. Every 4 Memoria Evernight has, the damage will increase by a good amount, and every use of this ability will grant 1 Memoria. As for the really nice talents, the first one makes Evey completely immune to crowd control effects, but it also has more chances to be attacked while it is on the field. And additionally, if it is on field, the damage dealt by Evernight will increase by 50%. Talent number 2 makes Evey instantly take action every time it gets summoned on the field. And for talent number 3, once Evey disappears, Evernight's speed will go up by 10% for 1 single turn. And if Evey dies due to the memosprite skill being used, each point of Memoria consumed on that attack will additionally increase the speed boost by 1% for each stack, meaning for the lowest example, if you get 16 Memoria stacks used on that, then the 10% boost will become a 26% boost. Of course, this helps her get back up on her feet, because her summon is basically half of her kit anyway. So imagine yourself being completely cut in half. I don't think you'd function very well. And finally, to end it off with the enhanced skill, if Memoria is above or at 16 and Evernight isn't crowd controlled, it will consume all HP of the summon and Memoria, dealing a massive attack. Every point of Memoria consumed will deal a percentage of Evey's max HP in a cone attack, meaning it will hit 1 enemy at the front and 2 on the sides, with the side enemies taking a little less than the primary one. Well, did you get all that? Because we're moving to the ability. For the ability prio, thankfully we have a very simple path to follow. We have a DPS and a sub DPS / support. You can pick either path. You should be leveling her up fully on all of these skills I mentioned here. But to have the fastest and best DPS Evernight, I believe you should go with this one: memosprite skill, ult talent, memosprite talent, and then the skill for last. But on the other hand, if you like a more support Evernight on your team and you want the teammates to deal more damage instead, this path is more your type, with the skill going first, then the ultimate, and then the rest are basically Evernight's damage increases. Now for the relics, thankfully my job is thankfully trivial. They gave her a signature set, which is the World Remaking Deliverer, and it increases the crit rate by 8% and gives you a max HP increase for both the memosprite and the user, while also increasing all ally damage once the user uses a basic attack or a skill. Obviously this is a signature set, it will work amazing on her since all of these things are perfectly suited for her core gameplay. As for other other options in order of importance and value: 4-piece Scholar for the skill damage and overall DPS Evernight, 4-piece Triumph for the insane amount of crit damage and speed, 4-piece Longevous also can work as well, giving you some bonus crit damage and using the HP loss mechanic as well. And lastly, if you want to or just haven't farmed enough, you can mix a bunch of 2-piece sets that are on your screen right now. But of course, everything gets outclassed by the 4-piece Deliverer and obviously 4 pieces in general. So my recommendation would be use 2 pieces if you haven't farmed and just farm up the 4-piece Deliverer to make the best out of your Evernight. As for planners, we have also a lot of options because this is a sub DPS character, but I will mention just a few of them. You can go Fleet for the max HP bonus, Rutilant Arena for damage, Penacony for a bit of energy and helping the ice allies if you play with them, Izumo if you want to play in Remembrance teams, which you will be doing. Be careful though, this only gives you the crit rate bonus, the attack percent does absolutely nothing here. Lushaka to buff any attack scaling DPS, Banana for the insane crit damage increase, and finally, for one of my personal favorites for her, the Bone set, because it gives you a max HP bonus if you can reach 5,000 on field. And again, you don't have to reach 5,000 outside of it, you have to reach 5,000 in the battle. So in summary for the planners, the Bone, Banana, and Lushaka, and maybe even Izumo if you play that, you got a lot of options, you know? But I think Bone, Banana, and Lushaka are your top 3 options. Thankfully, again, for light cones, we only have 5 of them. I'm not even joking. And the best part is that all of them can be used if you have any of them. I'm not even joking, even the 3-star. But let's take a look at the signature to Evernight stars. It increases the max HP by 30%, and when the user's memosprite uses an ability, the wearer will gain 1 stack of Noctis. While the stack is active, all allies' memosprites will ignore 20% of the target's defense when they deal any type of damage, and of course, this is very broken, so similar effects will not be stacking. So if you play with a lot of defense ignore units on your team, I wouldn't recommend this light cone as much. Honestly, this light cone has everything you will ever need, and honestly, I can't even say a bad thing about this light cone because the other ones kind of fall short, but they don't fall as short as you might think. It's because this light cone is much more overloaded than what the other light cones have. Thankfully though, overloaded or not, free-to-play options and obviously paid-to-play options are also amazing, and you will not have any trouble whatever kind of player you are. Emo March likes it all. Memory's Curtain is a nice HP stat increase on top of the allied damage increase as well, with Victory in a Blink coming in close second just because it's a 4-star and not a 5-star. I'm sure you have pulled 5 copies of the 3-star by now, but I wouldn't necessarily use it just because Victory in a Blink or Memory's Curtain are absolutely free, and I think you should have them by now because let's be honest, you're not using both of them and you can definitely get another Victory in a Blink. And lastly, for the people that buy the Battle Pass, I would either go for Sweat Now or the Flower here. Both of them give solid stats and benefit Evernight a lot, but I can't exactly give you a 100% better option. It really depends on what you build Evernight with. So going with the Battle Pass option will heavily depend on what build you're trying to get. Okay, hear me out. Evernight shines brightest with other Remembrance units, as we have seen before, so we are only gonna have to be pairing her with at least 2 or more, just so you can get the max buffs. I mean, there's 4 in total, but you should be using 2. A default team I would be using would be Hyacinth, Castoris, Remembrance MC, or Tribi, and Evernight for the last slot, because it makes complete sense. They are all HP scalers, all have memosprites, and all of them benefit from her buffs. Not so much Tribi or Remembrance MC, but Hyacinth and Castoris both will deal much more damage from Evernight, so I think you have a solid team comp right there. And obviously the same goes for this team, Aglaya, Remembrance MC, Sunday, and Evernight, because the main DPS will get buffed from all of the other units, while also having a kind of sub DPS as well on your team. On this one, you can replace RMC, for example, with Hyacinth, since she does heal, and she does pretty good damage as well, but Aglaya can kind of no sustain it, so you don't necessarily have to. As for Sunday, Bronya can kind of replace him if he is not available, and honestly, if you care so much about making her a DPS, Evernight, Hyacinth, Sunday, and RMC is going to be the team you're looking for. And for more general units, we have Hyacinth, Castoris, Aglaya, Remembrance MC, Sunday, Bronya, and Ceridra. For Ceridra also, I can't really tell if she transfers the skill damage buff over to the summon, but if that is the case, then I think Ceridra will work amazing with a DPS. And we're getting to the final part of the video, the Eidolons. And I know most of us don't really have the money to spend on more Eidolons, so I will not go too into detail with them. I will just give you some very basic info so you have an idea. Her E1 increases the original damage dealt by Evernight based on how many enemies are present on the field. Meaning, for every enemy that is missing, she will be doing more damage to the rest. And as you can see here, the maximum damage you will be doing will be when one enemy is on the field with 150% more damage. Original damage means that all multipliers will base their increases from the original damage. So instead of calculating from 100 damage, it will calculate 150. E2 grants extra Memoria every time Evernight gains a stack, with the additional amount being 2 points. And also, when you use the ultimate, you will gain an additional 2 Darkest Riddle stacks, meaning you now will have 4 instead of 2 in the ult form. E4 increases the break efficiency of other summons by 25% if Evernight is on the field, and Evey gains an additional 25%, meaning Evey has 50% while the others have 25% break efficiency. And lastly, the coolest Eidolon art in my opinion, it increases all type respen by 20% for all of your allies, if obviously she's on the field, and every time Evey uses the enhanced skill, Evernight will gain 40% of the Memoria consumed. To give you an example, if you had 17 Memoria consumed by Evey, Evernight will gain 40% of 17, which if you round it up, comes up to 5. It doesn't look exactly too crazy, but you have to think that Memoria is the main mechanic of Evernight, so this actually is a very big amount, and it just helps the unit do so much better. For your stopping point on the Eidolons, 100% the E2. E1 is good, it makes her much more of a DPS, but I think E2 makes her such a different unit because you gain so many more Memoria stacks and your ultimate can now last twice as long, meaning you have so much more potential to deal so much more damage. Usually for the outro, I have some final words to say, but I'm pretty confident the guide said enough. Evernight looks a little bit niche, only being tailored to memosprite users, but I'm sure we're gonna get a bunch of value in the future with newer remembrance characters coming soon. So, should you pull for her? I think she has very good potential, and I think if they are giving her such big buffs, I think there's definitely some good memosprite user coming along the way. Thank you so much for watching this guide. Subscribe to both of my channels. Subscribe to both my channel and my second one, and next up is Dunhung's new form. Have a great day or night out there, and peace.
Another one day in the night.